I know volleyball fans out there had an unbelievable Halloween weekend. Welcome in to the November race to postseason here on Six Rotations, sponsored by SNA Sports. Better equipment for a better game. He's Mick Haley. I'm Daniel Gilman. And wow, what an unbelievable weekend as Texas gets knocked down not once, but twice. An epic top five match in the SEC, an awesome top 10 battle in the ACC with Olivia Babcock breaking her own record with 45 kills. And you've got TCU, Baylor, Arizona State, all with big losses. BYU as well. Penn State beaten twice. Indiana with a historic night. Florida and Tennessee both fall to unranked teams. And without wasting any more time, the top 10 looks like this with Kentucky into the 2 spot. They beat Texas in 3 sets. The first team to sweep Texas in Gregory in over a decade. Pitt with that huge 5-set win over SMU, and then Texas. A&M jumps from 9-6. They eked by Tennessee as well. And then SMU, Purdue, Arizona State all suffered scares. Purdue the only one to come out unscathed with another reverse sweep win over Michigan. Mick, what a weekend.
Yeah, this is unbelievable the way this went down. And honestly, in some of the cases, the play was really high. In other cases, not so much. So we're probably seeing the end of October, start of November, teams tired, teams having trouble playing on the road, some teams getting better, some teams on the downswing. So 9 teams, though, lose in the top 25. That's unheard of.
Let's do a little bit of a talk show style segment, and let's say winners of the weekend, Mick. And you got to start with Kentucky. A dominant performance. They'll keep it rolling and take on Tennessee on Sunday, 5 o'clock Eastern on ESPN. And then in the ACC, Pitt. It always comes back to Pitt, doesn't it? Needing to dig deep. No one else really had a big performance against UNC except for Olivia Babcock, who had 45 kills on 83 swings. And how about UNC? They showed a little bit of something as well. They're going to be in their best ranking spot in almost a decade. We'll talk about that as we break down the rest of the top 25. But Mick, in the top 10, who are your winners of the weekend?
Well, obviously Kentucky, and they showed improvement. They also did some things that were pretty incredible. They controlled the match from the start. They were in firm control of second set, I think 20-16, only to give up 5 points and go behind before Coach Skinner called a timeout. Then they come back and go back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, and they finally win the second set. Third set even gets better. Both teams now playing much better. Texas has been rotating their middles around. Seemed like that didn't go well for them. They didn't pass well to start with, and A&M exposed them in the middle on Friday night, coming at them in the middle. So it was very interesting, the strategies for Sunday. But the match was not unfun. If you were at the match like I was, it was really a great match, high-level play, big-time hitters, big-time blockers, and really interesting. But you have to give DeLay and Houston Hudson just credit for running that match. And DeLay almost received every ball. I mean, she just got worked. Only 3 errors in that whole match. So maybe, if you think about it, maybe DeLay shouldn't be getting all those balls because she seemed to get better and better the more she touched the ball.
Oh my goodness, you're fantastic, brilliant. +1, Miss Carrie Haley texted me and said it felt like a Final Four match, and I think that's exactly how I felt watching it. But how about we go back to Friday, because Texas A&M with almost 10,000 fans setting a new program record. Texas comes back, wins the third, blows them out in the fourth, and it's like, all right, here we go, deja vu here on Halloween Eve. Little did we know it was going to be a night filled with pure carnage. Mick. I mean, going through the Friday night score lines, but a quick little bio. If you missed A&M against Texas, don't get me started about YouTube TV and ESPN. I couldn't watch anything this weekend. I was scrambling and streaming and bouncing, and the ESPN app does not really allow for the same flexibility as the YouTube TV app, which is why we pay all that money. And yet here we are without access. Grr. But Texas falls behind 3-0 to start that fifth set,
Yeah.
ties it at 7. Walk me through the impact that you saw from Kaz Akpala, because every single point, it was one of those. I mean, you can go back to Fecky and Retke, and you can put Kaz and Paula out there as well as a game wrecker, because that's how it felt in that fifth set.
Yeah, and I think the situation was no one wanted to make any errors in the fifth set, so the serving didn't increase. It kind of decreased. The passing got better, so A&M were able to run all of their options, and they're so fast to the outside that they were getting a lot of one-on-ones when they get perfect passes like that. So Texas really having trouble putting a net defense up there against the perfect pass.
And it was the ace from Kasi Akpala back on, I think it was 12 all, and then the first ball side out. Who else, right? But is it Ifena Kazakpala? It's like who else was it going to be? She ends up with 9 blocks against Texas, 13 against Tennessee as they beat them on Sunday. And Mick, it's the highest ranked win in 30 years for Jamie Morrison's Aggies. The first, as we mentioned, home win against Texas in 15 years. Everything about that match was lead the show, right? I'm thinking, all right, this is going to lead the show. But then the night just continues, and I'll walk you through how Friday night went, right? Because Nebraska sweeps Wisconsin, and that was as expected, because we're at the point now where the Big Ten is Nebraska, and it's everyone else. And then UNC topples SMU in 5 sets behind Safi Hampton, even from a great showing from Malaya Jones. And I'm pretty sure Favor Onyanwu had a huge match with 9 kills, 1 error. But then the night takes its turn, right? Because Arizona sweeps TCU, Iowa State beats Arizona State in 5, Michigan beats Penn State in 5, Missouri beats Tennessee in 4, and then Colorado beats Baylor in 4. What a night, Mick.
Yeah, and to talk about the NC win, they had 6 players in double figures. So that's the positive and really interesting thing. I haven't seen that very much. But what was disturbing was on Sunday's match against Pitt, when they hardly had any fans in the stands. And if you're going to play one of the top 4 teams in the country, you would think your fans would turn out. So I was disappointed in that. I thought UNC had a good weekend. Like I said, they spread the ball around. They're getting better every week, it seems like. And I haven't seen a match where 6 players have double figures in attacking in a long, long time, if ever.
So with all of those score lines, I got to show you the rest of the top 25 as Iowa State works their way in. 2 years for Iowa State since they've made it into the top 25. And then you look at the rest of the jumbling, because when you have a team like Indiana beat Penn State on the road for the first time in program history, they jump up 6 spots. And then USC beats UCLA in that revenge match. And then they beat Minnesota. They jump up as well. And then, Mick, you've got the losers of the week: BYU, Baylor, Penn State. They all fall. TCU, their lowest maybe the whole season, right, since they went on that run, as they dropped to 16. Where do you sit for some of these teams that had bad weeks?
Well, I think they're in trouble because they're not trending up, and you got to put Minnesota in that. And guess what? Minnesota's got coming up. They've got Wisconsin and Nebraska in the same week.
Yep.
If they don't win those matches, they'll be 7-7 in the conference, and I don't know what that does to them.
Minnesota, Wisconsin, 8 o'clock Eastern, Wednesday night on Fox Sports 1. And then Saturday, Minnesota, Nebraska moved from NBC to Peacock. So make sure you've got that note. I went to check the ESPN app. It still said NBC. That's a bit disappointing, but we have to take some of our losses when they happen. But Mick, you talk about Minnesota. What about a team like TCU? Are they falling out of favor? I took them out of my top 16 in replacement. I put USC in there because I thought that, as we talked about, that West Coast needs a few more hosts. I think USC could be playing their way into a top 16.
Well, they have a big week coming up. They have to win both of these matches this week coming. And you're right, Indiana's third in the Big Ten right now. They're going to finish the season in late November playing Purdue,
Yeah.
who also is tied with them for third. That's an interesting battle right there in the state of Indiana, and they're potentially playing for third place, maybe even second place if the number two team falls out of spot there. So that's pretty interesting. I did not move North Carolina up that far, but everybody's starting to watch them, and I don't know if they're on one of these 3 week hot streak runs, but they're playing good teams now. They lost when they played Pitt, so that put them down to third in the conference. But that conference has got a bunch of matches coming up at the top four that are really interesting, and so we'll see where they come out.
And the Tar Heels will take on Stanford Friday night out on the West Coast, 10 o'clock Eastern on ACC Network Extra. So again, the tests will come. I put North Carolina firmly into my top 14. I've got another team in there as well that is benefiting from all the quiet, and that's Miami. Miami had a stressless weekend, and the Hurricanes will take on Florida State twice this week, Wednesday in Miami, Saturday in Tallahassee. That'll be another tall test. Creighton almost lost in 5 sets. They come away with a survival 30 kills from Ava Martin as they beat Marquette in 5 sets. They're sitting in that top 15 pretty comfortably with a team like Kansas. And again, Mick, no one really is scary outside of the top 10 right now. SMU might be the last really scary team, and then everyone else could lose in the first weekend, I think. That's where I'm sitting.
Well, I tell you, I would love to see volleyball start talking about injuries because in many cases they
Who is volleyball?
lose.
Who is the magical volleyball that you want to start talking about the injuries?
Well, I think Moritz for Pittsburgh hasn't played since October 12th. When she plays, they're a whole different team. She's a professional player. She scores from the left side. She's 6'2". She stops any of the right side attacks. So that's one. You've got Jaden Livings for SMU. It's been out for 2 weeks now. SMU's dropped a match. They're not playing like they did before. Jaden gets some 15 to 20 kills per match. So that's another one to look at. And here's the most interesting thing. Wisconsin, we've kind of given up for dead. So I decided to go and look at Wisconsin's numbers for points scored. Guess what? In the top 10 teams, Wisconsin leads all top 10 teams, including
Wow.
Nebraska, in points scored per match. And so it doesn't look like the setter out thing is hurting them with points scored. They're scoring enough to be in the top four. And Lee Feinswag from Volleyball, used to be Volleyball Magazine, it's now 900 square feet. He said right at the beginning of the season, watch out for Wisconsin at the end. They're going to be in the hunt. Well, nobody has said that or seen that recently, but if they reduce their errors, they're in the hunt because they can score the ball now.
Oh,
So
Mick,
it's interesting.
I have so much fun. I hope you guys all watching have so much fun because we need volleyball to talk about these injuries more. You are volleyball, Mick. Let's do it. You're the one. Move the needle. Again, it didn't feel like Wisconsin was leading the way in points per match when they scored 22, 19, and 13 against Nebraska's vaunted defense, a team in the Huskers that did not hit an amazing percentage. They hit 349, which to them is just a ho-hum day because then they turn around, hit over 400 against Oregon. Bergen Riley continues to move the needle. I think they're at 13 straight sweeps and now a unanimous number one spot. But Mick, some of these important matchups ahead certainly have my attention. And you talk about a team like Wisconsin. Can they step up? Because Minnesota might have a tough week playing Wisconsin and Nebraska, but Wisconsin has a tough week facing Minnesota and Indiana this weekend. Indiana comes to Madison on Sunday.
Actually, I think that after we looked at all these numbers, I did this with several other people who were pretty knowledgeable about sport, and they said maybe these people are not playing Wisconsin. Maybe they're playing Mimi Collier, because when Collier gets 30 plus kills, that's why they score the
There's
high
your numbers
point.
getting distorted, right? Yeah.
And when Collier didn't perform as well as she wanted to in the third set there, that you see the score against Nebraska was down. Everybody's loading up on Collier now, and she is still not backed off. She's still bringing it. So that's why Wisconsin's in the hunt, I think.
All right, don't look now, Mick. But leading the Big 12 conference are Show's Dandies. We've talked about them all season long. The Colorado Buffaloes at 10-1.
Yeah.
Just storm through Baylor in 4 sets. They escape their rivals in the UNC Bears, Northern Colorado, on Tuesday in 5 sets. Anna Berlinovich had 30 kills Tuesday, 18 kills, a couple aces against Baylor. And now the Big 12 conference is starting to separate. Iowa State is now in 3rd place in the Big 12. Teams like Baylor, BYU, TCU all have 5 losses. Is that starting to become a bubble conversation, or do you think they're all firmly in because of their non-con play?
Well, it's going to be tough because they're all so close. If they don't separate, they could all get in or they could all get out. But I don't think they'll get out because I think their schedules are pretty good and their RPI is pretty high.
The RPI is high.
I think they're in because the committee seems to like the RPI. I don't know if they use the KPI as much, but both of those numbers are positive for all of those teams to get in simply because they went to war early.
And that's the right answer, because here's the answer that I was going to hit you with. It's not just that those teams are all in. Teams like Baylor have 24 RPI. The Big 12 is getting a lot of love from the computers. How about Kansas State? They're at 41 RPI. That's usually on the right side of the bubble. And then you've got Arizona, Cincinnati, Utah, all in the late 40s. So they can play their way in because right now the bubble is not very menacing. Usually you look at the RPI and around that 40 mark are a lot of those talented bubble teams. Guess who's at that 40 mark now?
That would be hard for Utah to get in. They have only won 2 conference matches so far, even though they
Unlikely. Yeah, it's unlikely. They're 0-7.
Great schedule. They haven't performed very well in conference. If they could win out here, they could get back into that bubble, but it's going to be really tough. And they've got a good schedule for doing it. They're going to play teams that are highly ranked in the RPI, so they could battle in there, but I don't know. That's a tough fight for me.
Yep, I just mean that they could. Those are teams in the late 40s. The early 40s are usually a bubble team. In that 40 spot right now is Georgia Tech, a team that we had written off weeks ago, and yet the RPI loves them. But it really just shows teams like Washington and Missouri are in the mid 40s. It's a real hodgepodge. The voters continue to have given Missouri a little bit of love. They're the 27th team in the AVCA coaches poll right now, with Florida as 26. But again, it's anyone's game. Marquette, Villanova all have high RPIs right now. And then a team that's going to sneak in like Illinois and Michigan State are in the mid 30s. So the Big Ten Conference is going to have a ton of teams in the tournament. But again, how many can get to the Elite Eight unless Furbringer is healthy? Can Purdue get over that bubble of the Final Four? A lot of good questions. I want to talk about a few of the other storylines. Can you think of any matches that we haven't talked about yet that you really enjoyed? There was a lot to watch this weekend, whether it was Purdue and a couple 5-set wins. They beat Michigan State and then Michigan in 5. Louisville escaped a tough Notre Dame team in 6 total sets.
Yeah, I thought all those matches, I couldn't see some of them, so I followed them by watching the numbers. And it was pretty interesting what was going on. I think Purdue is a notoriously slow starting team, but when they get Willard on the left and Nahaney on the right going, then they seem to get momentum. And once they get momentum, it's hard to stop them. I thought Michigan was hot. I thought they were going to win that match. And yet when I turn around and look at the conference, Michigan State is 1 up on Michigan in the conference standings.
Yeah.
And I thought Michigan State was down and out. And so they're in the hunt. If Illinois loses out here, I don't see how they get in. They're just having terrible luck here in performing.
And I think I read it was the first time ever that Iowa won at Illinois, or it's been 20 some years. I mean, it was a historic weekend in the Big
2005,
Ten.
maybe. Yeah.
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 Historic weekend in the Big Ten. Indiana winning at Penn State. USC with the big win at Minnesota. They propel up into that top 16 conversation. I think USC belongs in that spot as well. Talking about more, SMU and UNC, I think they should both be certainly hosting. The Tar Heels have shown me enough. And the fact that they can add a second helper, Laney Smith had a big day against SMU to go with Safi Hampton's 20 plus kills.
Well, they need to add some spectators. North Carolina, they can't be going to the football game. They got to have something to do. They better show up at the volleyball match. Basketball doesn't really get going until January or February.
No,
So
basketball, I think this is week. So maybe they'll
yeah,
start to get that basketball volleyball crowd going. Basketball starts this week.
yeah,
Okay.
I know. I was just kind of
No,
poking
I
the bear
know.
a little bit, but I think that in UNC has got a good team. Now it's the community needs to come out and support them. I don't think it's a fake team. I think it's a good team. I think it will get better. I think the coach has done well so far. They should show support. Joe Segola had good support over there. He was there for over 20 years, and people came out. They need to start coming out again because this is a good volleyball area in the country now, and these kids are playing hard.
One more record note. First time ever Rutgers beats Ohio State. The Big Ten Conference really did have a marquee weekend. As I go through a couple more of the notes here, Mick, is Texas ever going to get Terraflex? Watching Ella Swindell run into that cheerleader was not fun.
I got to tell you why they don't have Terraflex.
Tell me.
None of the doors are big enough to get it in the facility in
Oh,
Gregory Gym. That's why they don't have Terraflex.
oh my
They
goodness.
can't get it into the facility. And if they do, they have no place to store it.
Okay. You know what? We get a little bit of flack sometimes for not talking about Pitt. I want to give a deeper dive into Pitt's big win. UNC was dead to rights at the end of that fourth set. They scavenge it out, force a fifth. Pitt continues resilience, 10 blocks for Ryla Jones. Again, it's Blair Bayless with efficiency from the outside. And Olivia Babcock, I mean, 45 kills is out of control. She doesn't seem like she's slowing down. I think Olivia Babcock could will Pittsburgh to another Final Four, even if maybe the back row isn't playing up to snuff. But Mosier has been fine.
You know what would spur Babcock? I mean, she's carrying the load without Moritz in there. I just don't know, and I'll throw it back at Pitt fans. How come you're not announcing what's happened to Moritz? I think I'm saying that right.
Yeah,
She has
but also it's not the
disappeared
fans'
since
fault.
she's disappeared since October 12th. We don't hear any talk about her coming back. We don't know what's the matter with her. I looked at all the stories on their webpage. There's nothing that mentions she even got hurt. So I don't know what happened to Morris. I think the kid is a great player. I think Pitt's got a chance to win it all if she comes back. So how about some information?
I think we are blessed with the Lincoln Arneals of the world, Mick. I just don't think Pitt has a reporter that's doing the digging, finding out and reporting for us. They're kind of just enjoying keeping it hush hush because it's a competitive advantage, right? For a team
Yeah,
to not
yeah.
know if she's coming back or not. So if they don't have hard pressed beat writers trying to follow all the stories, because a lot of the schools don't have that for women's volleyball. They don't have that for softball and
And you
gymnastics.
want the committee to know. You want the committee
That's
to
true.
know, is this kid coming back? Is she
But
going to be in the hunt?
if they keep winning, they're going to be in the top four anyways,
Yeah.
And meanwhile, UNC jumps up to the 15 spot. That's their best since before the 2017 season. The preseason poll had UNC at 15. So those are teams I think that can kind of be trusted right now. And we'll see how that continues. The question is, Purdue in 5 sets, are they ever going to lose? They're 7-0 in 5 setters now. They've reverse swept 2 of their last 3. Michigan was in full control of that match at home, and Heaney had 19 kills. That was a huge showing. I'm really, curious to see Purdue this week, Mick. Will take on Penn State on Friday. That's a must win. I'm calling that a must win for both teams. Penn State
Absolutely.
loses that. They're almost out of the tournament conversation. Purdue loses that, and they are no longer on the real or fraud. They're not a, they're teetering back and forth if they can't take down Penn State.
Well, and Coach Shondell, if he can get this team to the Final Four, he's going to be coach of the year. Who can lose two best outside hitters
Yeah.
on the team and replace five people and come back like this and play? So that's some pretty good work by the staff there to take the portal and fill some holes and come back and be highly competitive. And he's got a chance to be second in the Big Ten here.
All right, so Mick, I do want to talk a little bit more about some of these other teams, but I think we're going to do so in our Players of the Week, Six Rotations Team of the Week area. So let's go ahead and get to that. And this is where I gave some love to some of the non-power teams that are, I guess, the non-top 10 teams here. But I'm starting off with Berlitovich. Her, 48 kills in those two matches. Colorado is dependent on her, and she continues to lead the way. She's my outside hitter number one. And then for Minnesota, how about Julia Hansen, Mick? There's a lot of options for outside. I'm going to get some flack for not choosing the more obvious picks. But Hansen had 11 kills in the first set against Illinois, 23 kills overall, hit over 600, and then 26 kills against USC. So I'm stamping Julia Hansen, my outside number two.
Yeah, I've liked Hansen for years. I thought when she wasn't starting, when Hugh was coaching, that she was deserving of that spot. So I can go along with Hansen, but I didn't pick her. I picked both Hudson and DeLay from Kentucky because those two put on an unbelievable show, and I got to sit there and watch it. But I had Cullen from Miami as a third left side because she burned it up again, and she had 33 kills and 66 attempts. Now think of that. That's a kill every two sets, and not many errors there. 7 errors, I think. So I like those three, and I would also look at Ava Martin at Creighton, who had another great weekend also to get Creighton through all of that. She had 30 kills in that effort there. So this year we have had some outstanding performances from 15 to 20 of our outside hitters that really are just annihilating the ball.
I agree. And we actually had a couple emailers put both Hudson and DeLay. So as we enter the middles, those two have the lead. So I'm curious to see who you've got in the middle now, Mick.
Well, you actually mentioned one of my middles, and that was Faber and Yanwu. Yep. She was 16 swings out of the middle, 10 kills and 1 error this weekend in big match for SMU. She's kind of carrying the load while Jaden Livings is out on the outside, but she's scoring for them, and they're getting her the ball. So that's one of my middles. And the other one probably nobody's looking at is Reese Pisek. Am I saying that right?
Yep,
yeah, out of Kansas. 15 sets, 10 kills, 0 errors.
Wow.
And that gets Kansas in consideration again. They're just quietly laying out there. Only lost 3 times in conference. They still have a chance to get in there and play for the conference championship. It's interesting what's happening there. So there's my 2 middles.
That's what I thought this week. I thought Miami and Kansas got very good setups where they got to slide under the radar where everyone else got rained on. I like those 2 middles. I went a little bit more obvious with Ifena Kazakpala, the superstar now coming out of the middle for A&M, getting every set. It feels like she had 15 kills, 9 blocks, 1 error against Texas, and then ran it back with 13 blocks against Tennessee. What an unbelievable showing. But maybe better what we saw from Colby Neal. She had a perfect weekend with 16 kills without an error with that win over TCU. She did, part of the loss to Iowa State, but she had 9 blocks and 7 kills against Iowa State, 9 against TCU, 18 blocks for Colby Neal. 22, though, probably still on the side of Kazakpala there. But those are my 2 middles, and I could not pick Olivia Babcock, right? Did you take another opposite?
No, Babcock is my opposite. This kid has just put them on her shoulders and just carrying them. And I am amazed at what she's been able to do. I thought a slow start in the first week of the season. And then after that, she kicked it into second gear, and now she's cruising. And she's bringing it. And as long as they give her the ball, she's going to keep bringing it.
And how about this? For those of you that are still watching, whoever can email the last player who had more than Olivia Babcock's 45 kills, email it. The first one that gets it back is going to win one of our giveaways. Nice little jacket shirt combo. And that is 6rotations@gmail.com. All right. So we've got Olivia on the right side. I'm going to do a little update. We've got some teams that are competing right now with three similar. One has three, maybe four similar now with Babcock. Take me to your setter, Mick. Who do we got?
I have setters, and I want to tell
Oh,
you,
gotta pick
I've
one.
got two of the
Pick
best
one.
freshman setters in the country,
Gotta pick
in
one.
Reese Messner and Stella Swenson. And when SC played Minnesota, I watched the whole match, and these two kids played their hearts out. They are players of the future to come. They are really good. Reminded me of Izzy Stark, actually, both of them playing with that kind of aggression, moving the ball around, and they're fun to watch. I just put them both down. I hope I can talk you into giving me two in the setter category for this week.
I'm giving you one, Mick. Who do you want?
I don't know.
All right, I'll go Swenson because that was the second one you said. So
Yeah, but
Swenson is your
I
pick.
like Messner because she won.
There you go, Mesner. I'm going Maddie Walk out of Texas A&M. We haven't talked to her about her enough. Second season in College Station, and she had 91 assists, completely controlled the offense, eliminated any sort of threat late in that fifth set against Texas. It felt like she was in full control. Maddie Walk's my pick at setter, and then a little bit of love to the Cyclones into the top 25. And I picked her before I saw the rankings. Rachel Van Gorp had 43 total digs with wins over Baylor and Arizona State, and Van Gorp is my libero of the week.
Yeah, I had Cassie O'Brien from Kentucky as my libero, and I'll tell you why. Not big numbers. Every big play she made, it was amazing. Every time it was win or lose in that match.
But
She
isn't
came
she a
up.
setter?
Yeah,
You
maybe
got
I've
three
got.
setters, Mick. All the
Well, I've
setters.
got the wrong name. Then I need the libero from
Is it
Kentucky.
Tuazo? Is that the libero? Tuazo. Molly Tuazo.
Whoever the libero is, and I got my names mixed up. Sorry about that,
It's
but
okay. You got it. It's Molly Tuazo. Yep.
yeah, but I'll tell you what, she made the plays. I mean, every play that looked like doomsday for Kentucky, she came up with the ball or made a set or made a bump set, but mostly her diving saves I thought were fantastic. So she got my attention, and that's my libero for this week.
Oh, fantastic. We had two people tie with five similar choices. So we're going to
Really?
go ahead and give it to both Cameron and Miles. Cameron got excited for a minute because he had O'Brien as his setter, but then you
Oh,
said her as the libero.
yes,
But
I'm sorry. I did. I was looking at O'Brien. She set a nice match, and I wanted to say about Walk. She sets the fastest system in the country.
very impressive.
That's why A&M is really going to be tough in the tournament, because if you can't serve them off the line, they're going to get one-on-ones for those hitters all over, and that's going to be the name of the game for the tournament for A&M.
A couple honorable mentions. I put Safi Hampton out there for UNC with her 24 points, over 300 hitting percentage against SMU. And then Ava Armour for UCF. They beat BYU. We didn't talk a ton about BYU, who had a tough week, but Ava Armour had 25 kills, hit 450, and Kendall Stowers. I mean, come on, we got to say her name
Ours was good.
at least once this episode. She made it so that led Nikki to had a lot of pressure off of her. And Terry Heaton sent in an email saying that, you were spot on about the late season fatigue, especially in that Arizona State TCU match on Wednesday. And Lee Feinswag had a great stat I wanted to throw in. Baylor leads the nation in amount of sets lost by 2 points. And that's a very important stat. They've lost 18 sets by 2 points this
Oh
season.
my.
That's brutal. I mean, that's just brutal.
That is really brutal.
And it's
Yes.
been a tough year for McGuire, and you wonder if they're able to turn it around or not. But we'll find out next week. Big matches in the Big Ten, and then one big one in the ACC with North Carolina, Stanford, and then of course Tennessee, Kentucky on Sunday. He's Mick. I'm Daniel, and this is Six Rotations.